Hey guys, just wanted to make another video here, kind of like from the school of thought of that video I made about scale a while ago. It's just something that comes up a lot, and I wanted to deal with it. It's the claim or whatever I'm kind of going against here is um, the the accusation that people toss at us a lot, which is well, it worked in the lab, but it won't work in real life. You know, you're just a guy who fiddles in the lab and, doesn't do this sort of stuff, in the real world, and, it might work in your lab, but it doesn't work in the real world that way. And I can see where that kind of comes from. Well, I can see where that comes from in two ways. One, science education in this country is bullshit. It's terrible. And you really have to get up to a high level of science education to really understand the role of science and how science is performed and operated. Actually, you don't even need the education, you just need to do that research on your own. I'm a firm believer in the same thing that Lurker was talking about in a thread, where if you really wanted to, you could learn anything from any college degree if you just spent enough time on the internet. And you bought enough books to do it. I mean, you could do it. You don't have to go to school to learn these things, but that just happens to be one of the easier ways to do it. It's also one of the most expensive. So first off, just people not understanding how science works, and the role of science and the role of mathematics, in that you need to have a high enough comprehension of mathematics and scientific understanding before the simplifying assumptions that you are paralyzed with in the lower sciences and the lower mathematics. It's unrealistic at those levels, but that's just because you don't have the mathematical knowledge and the scientific background to make it as realistic as possible. But, with enough math and with enough science, you can make any theory or model extremely realistic. So that's number one, is people just not understanding where science comes from and what it's doing. The other one is the people themselves we get wrapped up in this, and I'll admit it happens to me when I'm doing some CAD programming or something like that. You kind of get wrapped up in this little world all your own, and it's kind of a personality flaw in a way. Engineers and scientists will get in that kind of, kind of conniving way, and so, we don't help this out by any means. But I did want to discuss it because it comes up all the time, and it's something that I wanted to talk about. And it doesn't even just get thrown around in just our testing. There's this guy in the Angel forums who just freaking hates my guts. And he's always trying to tell me, you were just an engineer and you learned from textbooks and equations and math, and out in the real world things are different. And, here's my deal. Engineers and scientists are easily the most results-oriented people in the world, probably. Real-world results-oriented. With a high enough level of math and science and modeling and whatnot, we can simulate really well what happens in the real world. Or we can, design a really good test and, figure out what's happening in the real world. And that's exactly the point we do. Like, when we do an accuracy test here, if we get, a difference between two barrels of 1 inch of accuracy, what does that mean? Well, on paper it means that one barrel was more accurate than the other, but is that really true? I mean, 1 inch. I mean, a paintball itself is already 68 caliber. So it kind of does tie into the scale thing, in that we're extremely results oriented, and we're scale of those results oriented. If, for instance, I don't know, it's just something that comes up a lot, and something that's well, it works in your controlled conditions, but it doesn't work in the real world. Well, you know, we design our tests so that they're as realistic as possible. Sure, we have to isolate our variables to reduce our error, but we design our tests to operate in the real world, you know. That's why we don't use reballs in almost any tests. We never use reballs because they're not very good simulation for paintballs, you know. So we use real paint, and we use, you know, like, we do things the way we do to make them applicable in the real world. And that's something that's true of scientists and engineers all over the world, is, you know, sure, we might get tied up a little bit in the details of it all and whatnot. But we try to design our tests and design our output and decide about the scale of our results, so that it can help somebody in the real world. That's just something we do. That's so you can see why, you know, people who keep saying, you know, in the lab it works, but it doesn't work in real life, or something like that. You know, I've had to do this several times, which is just like to show it to me. You know, you claim it can be done. Give me a video of it doing whatever it says. You know, so engineers and scientists, you know, we do the math, we do the numbers, we play in our own little world sometimes. But that world that we're trying to play in, we're trying to make it as realistic as possible, as much like the real world as we can, because we're all worried about what happens in the real world, not in our own little fun games and math land and whatnot. And I think that is because of two things. One, the personality flaw that all engineers and scientists pretty much have, which is that thing. And it really is a personality flaw, I think. And number two is the way science is viewed by people who don't have the higher understanding of it, which is you know, eventually you get to a point in mathematics where you can model, you know, pretty much anything in the real world, given enough inputs and given enough, you know, we can model it all if we wanted to. It would just crunch computer time like mad, and, you know, it's a results-oriented profession. It's a results-oriented occupation, and it's a results-oriented mindset that I don't think people quite understand that. They think we're just nerds for the fun of being nerds and playing in our own little world with our own little games and whatnot. But it really is results-oriented. We're looking for a way we can manipulate our equipment or our playing style, or, you know, something like that, to augment, to make it better for everybody. And so, you know, it is what it is. And so I'm going to cite this video whenever anybody says something like that, because I just have been meaning to make this video for a while, and I decided to do it tonight. So stick around. We should have some, I keep promising you guys tests, but really, I'm really busy. We will have tests for you, though, coming up soon, and some big ones with the accuracy test and the two-piece, and we picked up Custom Products as a barrel sponsor, so that's big news there. We're going to be thanking them like mad come December. So you guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you later. Alright, see ya. Bye-bye.